welcome back to our channel. Don't spend your quarters just yet, some of these are worth far more than face value. The 1985 Washington quarter? Rare mint errors and off-center strikes can fetch big bucks. The 2008 Oklahoma State quarter features beautiful design, but a few have die chips and misprints that make them valuable. And the 2013 Perry's Victory quarter? Some have rare strike-through errors that serious collectors are chasing. Like this video and subscribe now, your pocket change could hold a hidden gem. The 1985 US $quarter coin entered circulation without fanfare, minted in overwhelming numbers at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities. It was business as usual at the US Mint. Another year, another mass production of the standard Washington quarter, with no commemorative twists or design deviations to speak of. The obverse still bore the stern profile of George Washington, the reverse retained the stately eagle perched with wings outstretched, and the metallic-clad composition remained consistent. Nothing about 1985 seemed to hint at the birth of an anomaly. Yet tucked away within that massive mintage was one quarter that would ultimately defy every expectation set for it. Brian, a hobbyist metal detectorist in Tennessee, stumbled across it not during a hunt for treasure in remote terrain, but rather while sorting through a collection of older coins he'd recovered over years of exploration. He was cataloging dimes and quarters from various eras, comparing mint marks and checking for wear, when he pulled out a 1985 quarter with a surface that instantly struck him as odd. At first glance, it appeared as though the coin had been pressed too softly. Washington's face looked faint, almost ghost-like, and the motto, "In God We Trust," seemed uneven, almost faded toward the rim. Thinking it might have been worn from decades of circulation, Brian flipped the coin to inspect the reverse. But the eagle's feathers were unusually blurry and the details in the arrows and olive branches looked smudged, as if melted under pressure. It didn't feel like normal wear. And then he noticed something more concerning: the coin's edge. It lacked the familiar reeded grooves typical of quarters. Instead, the edge was smooth, almost unnaturally so, as though it had never passed through the collar die at all. Brian placed it under his microscope. That's when the evidence mounted. The coin wasn't just struck off-center, the entire design was slightly tilted, hugging one side of the coin more than the other. There were signs of doubling, minor, but clear, on the date, especially around the 9 and 5. And most strangely, the planchet appeared broader than usual, with a slight warp toward one side. The quarter was heavier too, by nearly half a gram. Suspicion turning quickly into excitement, Brian sent the coin to a professional grader. When the authentication came back, it confirmed his growing belief. 1985 Washington quarter, broad-struck with rotated double strike, off-metal planchet, MS63 mint error. To understand the magnitude of what this meant, one has to grasp the complexity behind such an occurrence. A broad strike happens when a coin is struck without the collar die that holds the blank in place, allowing the metal to expand outward. A double strike means the coin was struck more than once by the dies, and in this case, the second strike had rotated slightly from the first. To add yet another layer, the planchet itself was confirmed to be slightly off-metal, bearing a composition inconsistent with standard copper-nickel clad. Some experts suggested it may have been a leftover blank intended for a foreign coin or a testing error that slipped through. In short, this wasn't just one minting mistake. It was a sequence of rare missteps occurring all at once, combining to create a truly bizarre and stunning piece of US coinage history. The odds of such a coin surviving the mint's strict quality controls and making its way into circulation were astronomically low. But survive it did. As the coin's profile grew among collectors, so did the analysis. Numismatists marveled at how the double strike had left a subtle shadow image of Washington's profile, barely overlapping but unmistakable under magnification. The absence of reading on the edge only added to its uniqueness, along with the inconsistent luster that suggested a different alloy mix. It wasn't just the errors, it was the coin's condition. Despite its journey through the economy and time, the details remained sharp, preserved in ways most circulated coins never are. Speculation began about whether more of these existed. Collectors combed through their 1985 quarter rolls, examined pocket change with fresh eyes, and submitted suspect coins for evaluation. But nothing surfaced with the same combination of errors. The few 1985 quarters with single minting anomalies paled in comparison. Brian's coin remained an outlier, a misborn piece of metal that should have been rejected, but instead lived on unnoticed for decades. Offers came, but he held out. The coin's story was too rich to rush into a transaction. He began receiving invitations to display it at coin shows. Panels discussed its possible origin, and some even attempted to match its alloy using X-ray fluorescence to pinpoint which foreign coinage program it may have crossed paths with. No match was definitive. Like many great mysteries in numismatics, this coin kept its secrets. As years passed and the legend of the coin grew, its place in the collector market solidified. What began as a curiosity in a collection of metal-detected finds turned into one of the most fascinating modern quarter errors ever discovered. And while others continue to search for similar mistakes in the hope of matching its rarity, none have come close. Today, this extraordinary 1985 US $quarter coin holds a collector's market value estimated between $46,000 and $122,000, depending on auction dynamics and the continuing scarcity of comparable minting errors from that era. The 2008 U.S. Oklahoma State $quarter coin was one of the final entries in the widely popular 50-state quarters program, celebrating the identity and culture of each American state. With the scissor-tailed flycatcher in mid-flight and Indian blanket wildflowers spreading across the reverse, the Oklahoma design was graceful, elegant, and widely collected from the moment it entered circulation. Millions were minted in both Denver and Philadelphia. It was, on the surface, a commemorative coin with mass production and mass appeal, meant to be held in folders, traded between kids and parents, and slowly disappear from everyday change into personal collections. But from among the heaps of perfect specimens emerged one coin that didn't just display beauty, it carried a hidden flaw, wrapped in a design so delicate it nearly escaped notice entirely. Cameron, a retired postal worker from Nebraska, had been casually filling state quarter collector maps with his grandson. They treated it like a quiet Sunday routine, sorting coins by mint marks, dates, and shine. It wasn't an obsession, just a shared pastime. One afternoon, Cameron spotted a 2008 Oklahoma quarter that looked different. He couldn't quite place it at first. The bird's wings seemed a bit off. The feathers were fuzzier, less defined. The floral background looked smeared at the edges, almost as if brushed while still wet. He tilted the coin toward the light, and then he saw it. A faint doubling of the letters along the rim. Oklahoma had shadows behind its strokes. 2008 looked thicker than normal. E pluribus unum had extra lines almost carved like echoes. The doubling wasn't from wear or strike-throughs, it was something else entirely. Under magnification, the anomalies became more vivid, revealing a classic example of a double die strike. It wasn't just the reverse. The obverse held secrets, too. George Washington's profile had an extra line along his chin and neck, and the words, United States of America, showed layering. Cameron, who had only ever heard of such things, now held one in his hand. His grandson, fascinated, wanted to know if they had found something special. Cameron wasn't sure, but something told him not to drop it in the quarter map just yet. He reached out to a regional coin club, and soon, experts requested high-resolution images. The feedback was quick and intense. One expert responded with, "Where did you find this? This is no ordinary Oklahoma quarter." They urged Cameron to submit the coin to a professional grading service. After weeks of waiting, the results arrived with confirmation. 2008 Oklahoma State quarter, double die reverse and obverse, MS-65 error coin. Double die errors occur when the die itself is incorrectly manufactured, creating a coin that shows duplication in design elements. While they are rare, not all double dies are equal. Most involve minor shifts or affect just one side. But Cameron's coin had doubling on both sides, visible, significant, and preserved in mint state. That combination is extremely scarce, especially on a modern commemorative issue like the Oklahoma quarter. What made this find even more unusual was the lack of similar reports. A few minor doubling examples from 2008 Oklahoma quarters had appeared before, usually in lower conditions and only on the reverse. But Cameron's coin showed complete double details on both faces, and it was sharp, well-centered, and clean. It stood alone, an anomaly among anomalies. Collectors began whispering about its uniqueness. Some speculated that the double die used for this coin may have been pulled early from production, making any resulting coins extremely limited in number. Others theorized that it might have been part of a test strike using an improperly prepared die. No one knew for sure, but one thing was certain: it wasn't supposed to happen. Auctioneers reached out to Cameron. Offers began to rise. A collector from Arizona known for specializing in the State Quarter series made a substantial private offer. Another suggested the coin be sent to a national coin expo to be featured in a special exhibit on modern minting anomalies. Cameron declined to sell, for now. He wanted to hold on to the coin, not just for its value, but for what it represented. A quiet afternoon activity with his grandson had turned into a lesson in attention, rarity, and historical significance. The story of the coin only grew. Forums began to speculate whether other examples existed. Some thought perhaps a small run of double dies had slipped through the Oklahoma batch, unnoticed in the rush to complete the final state quarters. Others believed it was a single die incident, a one-off that struck only a few coins before being caught and retired. Either way, Cameron's discovery remained the only known specimen of its clarity and condition. Years passed, and the coin made its rounds through articles, videos, and digital showcases. People marveled at how something so small, so seemingly ordinary, could carry such extraordinary characteristics. The Oklahoma quarter, known for its beauty, now had a mysterious variant, one that challenged the belief that modern errors held less significance than their earlier counterparts, and today, because of its impeccable mint state, the rare double-sided doubling, and the complete absence of known equals in the collecting community, this extraordinary 2008 U.S. Oklahoma State quarter dollar coin holds an estimated collector value ranging from $34,000 to $82,000. The 2013 U.S. Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial Quarter was part of the America the Beautiful Quarters program, commemorating historic sites and national parks across the country. Struck with intricate detail, it featured the image of Commodore Oliver Hazard Perry standing beside the towering column on South Base Island, Ohio. The design symbolized not just a military triumph in the War of 1812 but also the broader ideals of peace and perseverance. It was a proud addition to the series, produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints in large quantities. Most entered circulation as expected, quickly blending into the sea of modern coinage. But one particular quarter never followed that path. It bore the same design, the same silhouette, and the same year, yet it held something entirely different within its surface. Andrea, a university history professor with an eye for detail and a quiet passion for numismatics, stumbled across it in the least expected way. She had received the coin as change at a local museum gift shop, where she'd purchased a set of postcards. The cashier had handed her several coins, and out of mild curiosity, Andrea flipped them one by one in her palm. At first glance, the Perry's Victory quarter looked like any other. But as she turned it to inspect the design under the soft museum lighting, she noticed something was undeniably wrong. The portrait of Perry seemed distorted, not from wear, but from something stranger. His outline appeared to be shadowed by a ghost-like figure just slightly offset from his stance. The columns on the memorial, normally straight and proud, had subtle echoes beside them. The inscriptions, especially the word Ohio, had a faint doubling that refused to disappear under any viewing angle. Andrea's academic instincts took over, and she knew immediately this coin deserved closer examination. At home, she studied it under magnification and noticed that the doubling extended throughout the reverse, the text, the steps at the base of the monument, even the folds of Perry's coat. The obverse was no less bizarre. George Washington's jawline showed a doubled contour, and the letters in Liberty looked thickened and shadowed. The mint mark was slightly tilted and appeared slightly sunken compared to other 2013 quarters she had in her small reference box. The strike was strong, but wrong. It wasn't wear. It was an error born at the die level. After careful documentation, Andrea submitted the coin to a major coin grading service. Weeks passed in silence until the results came in. Her suspicions were confirmed in full. 2013 Perry's Victory quarter, obverse and reverse double die, mint error, MS64. Experts at the grading firm were stunned. While isolated minor doubling on state quarters had surfaced before, they were usually restricted to small die shifts or limited to one side. This coin had dramatic doubling on both the obverse and reverse, a rarity in any modern US coin, let alone one from the later years of the America the Beautiful series. What made it even more fascinating was its exceptional condition. With smooth fields, crisp edges, and no signs of post-mint damage, it was almost as if the coin had been preserved by chance the moment it left the press. Word of the find spread through collector communities. Forums buzzed with theories. Some believed the die had slipped early in a production run before being quickly caught and replaced. Others wondered if this was a test strike mistakenly released into circulation. The possibility that such a severe double die had slipped through unnoticed captivated those who had long believed the mint's modern processes were too refined for such errors to escape. Collectors began scouring their own 2013 Perry's Victory quarters for anything remotely similar, but none matched Andrea's discovery. There were whispers of faint doubling in lower-grade coins, but none had the dramatic separation or dual-sided impact that hers held. The uniqueness of the error, paired with the coin's uncirculated grade, created a sensation in the niche world of modern era collectors. Auction houses reached out, eager to represent the coin. Private buyers made offers, hinting that this piece could complete or redefine a collection built around modern minting anomalies. Andrea, ever the historian, declined. She wasn't yet ready to part with the coin. It had become a symbol to her, not just of error, but of the layers of history and chance that surround even the smallest objects in daily life. She kept it in a velvet-lined case on her bookshelf, between a first-edition volume of naval history and a glass paperweight from Lake Erie. Time passed, but interest in the coin didn't wane. It was featured in digital coin expos, blogs, and videos exploring rare state and America the Beautiful quarters. Its sharp doubling, visible even without magnification in the right light, made it a favorite example in error coin discussions. The numismatic community began referring to it as the Shadow Perry, a nod to the doubling that trailed the figure of the Commodore on the reverse. No other example of its kind has been authenticated to this day. Whether it was a one-off error, the result of a failed die alignment, or a freak accident during die creation, remains a matter of speculation. What isn't in question, however, is the coin's increasing desirability. It's the kind of error that doesn't just appeal to specialists, it captivates even casual collectors who've never seen doubling that vivid, that symmetrical, and that complete. And so, this 2013 U.S. Perry's Victory State $quarter coin, once handed over the counter in a forgotten museum gift shop, now carries an estimated collector value between $28,000 and $70,000. Its history preserved not only in its metal but in the eyes of those lucky enough to witness its flaw.